We didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but that's okay. We're gonna make this.
We did. What are you talking about? All righty, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is another beautiful day. Um, you know, on the leadership standard. Welcome everybody. I hope you all can hear me loud and clear.
We're kind of hearing some backup. You'll have to go up and take your Facebook off. We're kind of hearing some backup.
I don't think it's from my Facebook.
Go up and take your Facebook off.
Well, let me take it off too. But check, is your file? Can you hear it anymore? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
But
I think the background is coming from.
Yeah, I'm here. What is the background coming from?
Do you have your phone on, or do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm here. No. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, I think everything is working fine so far. I don't think the background noise is there anymore.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll just have to mute. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this show. My name is Buchi Law, and we have today Susan Mount. Thank you, Susan, for being a part of us today.
Thank you.
This is going to be a beautiful. I hope you've shared it on your page, Susan Mount.
I'm getting ready to share it right now.
All right, please go ahead and share it on your page so that your followers can be a part of this as well.
Hang on 1 second. Let me get it there because I want to make sure to share because a lot of people depend on us.
Yes.
1 second. Let me get it there because I want to make sure. Okay. Sorry, I was the reason for all of the bad echoes.
All righty. Thank you so much. We have folks that are watching from Belgium. We have folks watching from all around. Thank you guys for being a part of us today. We hope you all are having an amazing Saturday. We want to analyze the Bruce Fein's interview that he had with Sahara reporters. We feel that interview is a very important interview.
Before we do that, Bucci, can I say Ututu Oma from here?
Ututu Oma, hey.
Land of the rising sun, Ututu Oma from here, from the United States. Sorry.
Yes, Ututu Oma. Thank you for for that. So we don't want to delay. We don't want to. Do you have any statements, or do you want us to just jump right in, Susan?
Let's just jump right in and start breaking this down so the Biafran people understand what Bruce Fein is talking about.
Yes.
And I'm ready.
I want to just first of all say that I'm an attorney licensed here in California, as well as an attorney licensed in Nigeria. So, but what we're going to be analyzing is just off the top of our heads, and as well as what we feel, the legal status is for each of these things. But again, please enjoy and listen. It's very important that we understand what's going on. So I'm going to start off the video.
Nnamdi Kanu is also the international attorney. It's a pleasure having you on Sahara TV again, please.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
We're looking at the preview of the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trial. With us to look at this issue is Bruce Fein.
Thank you. Can you hear the video now?
Yes.
International attorney, counsel, so to say. It's a pleasure having you on Sahara TV, sir.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
The trial has been described as a farcical trial, a charade of monumental dimension that involved a litany of human rights violations. Bruce Fein, how will you describe Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial by the Nigerian government?
Before I give a one-word description, let me give a little bit of background for the audience so they can make their own evaluation rather than just based upon my opinion. Last June, Nnamdi was visiting Kenya. He was kidnapped, tortured for many days, and subject to what's called extraordinary rendition to Abuja. We don't know all of the details because the federal government has been very reticent to disclose exactly what was done in collusion with the Kenyan authorities or with Kenyan bandits, if you will, to kidnap and torture and extraordinarily rendition Nnamdi to Abuja.
All right, let's pause here. First of all, this is he said a lot.
Yes.
One thing I love about Bruce Fein is Bruce Fein says a lot, but he also keeps it very concise.
Yes.
So he mentioned extraordinary rendition from Kenya. He mentioned kidnapping. He mentioned, collusion. These are words. These are very specific words. I want us to understand the power of words. So there's extraordinary rendition, there's kidnapping, there's a collusion. And he also mentioned the fact that the Nigerian government did not or has not actually, what is the word now, told the people what happened between when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was in Kenya and when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu left Kenya. All right, we don't know. We know that he was tortured. We know he was beaten, but we don't know. The full extent of damage that he faced, is still not known clearly into the public eye, apart from what reports we've gotten from the attorneys, as well as what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said. So, but Susan, what's your opinion on that? On what Bruce Fein just said?
Well, basically, the Nigerian government has not answered for anything. And they've already brought this fake farce case in front of their Supreme Court in Abuja. And they have no evidence. They haven't released no evidence, even after request of that. And they're still covering up evidence and still trying to come up with evidence to try to prosecute MNK. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is innocent of all charges. There should never be a case. That's why I call this a farce case. This is not a case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This is the Fulani terrorist sponsoring government trying to create a case against an innocent person because they do not like him, period. Because he speaks out against their atrocities that they are performing every day against Christians stuck in the contraption, against Biafrans stuck in the contraption, who are predominantly Judeo-Christians, by the way, stuck against the Oduduwas and the Yorubans stuck in the contraption, and even Hausas stuck in the contraption, because the Nigerian government, it's been hijacked by terrorists. They don't want the secret to come out and be full force in the international community. There is a major cover-up going on, and this is part of their cover-up. They use this kangaroo court and dictatorship to take out anybody speaking out against the Nigerian government, which is not a crime, by the way. And even in Nigerian law, it's not a crime. Anyways, they can't just make up laws whenever they feel like it without the people. It's supposed to be a democracy, not a dictatorship by terrorist sponsors. Period.
And we must also understand that what extraordinary rendition, is taking someone without the full process of law in the place where you found the person. So you just take somebody from a country without carrying out the full process of extraordinary, extradition. If you want to extradite somebody, you have to first of all take the person to the court in the place where you found the person. So in this case specifically, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case, and we're just analyzing it because of this interview, is the part where they took Mazi Nnamdi Kanu without first of all carrying out a form of a trial in Kenya to see if he should be extradited if he broke any laws in Nigeria. All right. This was
by the way, Kenya is trying to deny that any of their police or any of their government people in the government actually was responsible for extraordinarily renditioning Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And my question to them is, then how was Mazi Nnamdi Kanu allowed to be extraordinarily renditioned from Kenya without your knowledge?
Exactly.
What, in Kenya, do terrorists get a run amok in Kenya? Because Kenya is looking pretty bad right now to the international community and American citizens like me, because I got my eye on Kenya too, because they have their own. Just recently in the news, they've had a bunch of Christians slaughtered in Kenya. So what is the Kenyan government doing? Are they siding with terrorists or are they siding with innocent people? That's what we want to know. Anyway, sorry, I got into a tangent on Kenya.
No, you're okay. The point is just that there was a kidnap that was done with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case. There was a kidnap, and kidnapping is a crime, against any person, and he was tortured. And these are international crimes, because again, people don't know, but the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an international case, all right? Yes. It is not a local case, all right?
And it's a high-profile international case.
It is a high-profile international case. So if you're talking about Biafra, you must know that you're an international person, all right? Because you're now dealing in the realm of international law, international, countries. So this is not a case about just fighting for, goats, or somebody stole my goat or my chicken, in the village. This is a case that has to deal with real life situations, real life happenings, things that are going on, between countries. So this is a big deal. I want to just mention that. Okay. Yes. Should I go on and play the video?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, let me continue.
But whatever the details, it surely did not comply with international law requirements for extradition, which entitles a detainee to notice an opportunity to challenge the legality of any kind of detention and prosecution, which clearly did not happen in this case. This was last June, so approaching now 6 months. Now, since that initial arrest and charges, there has not been a crumb of evidence introduced to substantiate any of the alleged so-called terrorism-relating charges against Nnamdi Kanu. The vast majority relate to broadcasts from London in UK on Radio Biafra. They were not broadcast from Nigeria. And the Nigerian Federal Criminal Code is relatively clear that for alleged crimes that occur outside of Nigeria, there's no jurisdiction to adjudicate those crimes in Nigeria itself, among other things.
I'm going to pause it here because this is also something I want us to talk about. All right. So, Susan, do you want to go first?
So, this is the thing. The Nigerian government, if you notice Bruce Fein, he said there's not a crumb of evidence. And mind you, may I remind you, this has already been brought to the Supreme Court in Abuja by Malami, who is the Minister of Justice, okay, with no shred of evidence, no judicial process, just brought it in with no crumb of evidence, okay? And mind you, this man is an American international law attorney, Bruce Fein, who has studied this his whole life. And they would not even let him in the court with Nnamdi Kanu. Mm-hmm. So, this is a kangaroo court, exactly what we call a kangaroo court, which is a zoo court. Mm-hmm. They do not know what they are doing. Mm-hmm. They do not know the consequences of their actions. They think what they are doing is justice, and it's not justice. Mm-hmm. You have an innocent man, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, being brought before a Supreme Court with 0 charges right now. Mm-hmm. And the charges that they are trying to lay against him, he didn't commit nothing but freedom of speech. But they're trying to make his freedom of speech as a charge in Nigeria and extraordinarily renditioned him from Kenya under supposedly the noses of the Kenyan government, which I believe helped because El Rufai, who is a northern Nigerian so-called governor who sponsors terrorists, is already with Al-Shabaab, which reigns free in Kenya. So you tell me, this was planned. But this is the thing about the terrorists and the terrorist sponsors. They don't plan very well. Because they do not know the international law. The Nigerian government has ratified with the ICC. You know what I mean? So they have to abide by international law because they've already ratified. They've already ratified to be and they classify themselves as a sovereign country. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, and I understand exactly where you're coming from, and if in line with what you've said, with what Bruce Fein has said as well, is that there was no evidence that was deduced to allege, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu being a member of a terrorist organization or even being a terrorist himself. All right. We must understand that before Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, or rather when he was kidnapped, let me use the right phrase, when he was kidnapped from Kenya, he traveled to Kenya with his British passport. All right. He was in Kenya with his British passport. And how did he get to Kenya? He traveled from Britain, right, or wherever he was. So there must have been, if he was regarded as a terrorist, no country will open their borders for a terrorist. All right. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu travels all around the world since when he was, when he had to run out of Nigeria. We know the circumstances of his previous case when he was in Nigeria, and how the army went to his house and killed people in his house, and almost wanted to go for his life, but miraculously he survived.
Again, without due process.
Without due process, all right?
Which they do to Biafran people every day of the week. Exactly.
So without due process of law. Now, we must understand that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is he's a human being, as well as other Biafrans are human beings, and they deserve justice. They deserve, their rights to the courts. All right. So now, if you're going to call somebody a terrorist, or if you're going to declare someone a terrorist, you must show proof of what the person has done to be regarded as a terrorist. Somebody that is doing a speech, someone who's speaking through a broadcast from a foreign country that is not aimed at killing anybody, but rather seeking self-determination for his people, or protection of their human rights, self-defense laws there was no way they were going to be able to hold on to those allegations. And
but to a terrorist sponsoring government, somebody seeking for human rights and freedom away from a terrorist hijacked government, you are a terrorist to them, even though Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist to the international community, and he's not a threat to anybody but the terrorists themselves.
Right.
The terrorists are the ones, they should be taking themselves to court.
Exactly.
Because they're all a zoo. They all walk around there like a bunch of kangaroos.
Now, listen. The only problem the Nigerian government has against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is he spoke. They have a problem with, maybe they might have a problem with his big mouth. Maybe. Some people can say, oh, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has a big mouth. He keeps talking, yada, yada, yada. But again, that's not a crime. The fact that you have a mouth and you're speaking up and you're questioning issues that border on your human rights and your determination is not a crime. Okay.
So when you're watching Biafran people being slaughtered around you, and you don't have freedom to prosper, you don't have freedom to use your education to prosper, you don't have freedom to own your own business peacefully, you don't have freedom to even go to your farm and work because you're being gutted open by a machete.
Right.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is standing up and being a voice for those people. He's tired. And there's no crime in that. You and I live in America right now. If someone was gutting our neighbors who were farming to produce food for our country, or if we could not prosper because our government was, let's say, for instance, they were hijacked by terrorists, do you think we would sit down and be quiet here in America?
No way.
Another thing I want to say to Nigerian government, because I know they listen to me in DSS and everything in between. You know what? You sit here and you call Mazi Nnamdi Kanu a terrorist with no evidence. And he's not a terrorist. He doesn't carry weapons. He didn't carry weapons in Nigeria, or in the contraption called Nigeria. He spoke with his mouth and he produced evidence. And that's what the Nigerian government does not like. So if you prosecute Mazi Nnamdi Kanu with no evidence just for speaking out against the Nigerian government, then maybe you should prosecute some of our I dare you to prosecute people like me or our representative Chris Smith in Congress, who says the same thing that I'm saying against the Nigerian government.
Exactly. Because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu falls under the same category as these people.
You know, I'm just, and you know what? By the way, for the record, as a U.S. citizen, I would like to say Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is smarter than our representatives and our Senate. And I hate to say it, but he is, because he sees the bigger, insecure picture of allowing these terrorist sponsors to rule over innocent people.
And as you've said it now, would any U.S. security agency come and arrest you for speaking your mind? They would not do that, correct?
Yeah.
Because they know for sure that you have the freedom of speech. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has freedom of speech. He has the right to say what he has to say regarding protection of his own people. All right. If the Nigerian government is not providing security to protect the people that they are meant to serve, then there's a vacuum of leadership. There's a failure of leadership. All right.
But we already know, Bucci, the terrorists run amok in the contraption. They get to go and slaughter people and get repentant, which, by the way, the U.S. State Department knows about.
Exactly.
Okay. And not only that, they get to be repented, but people who protest for a better life, prosperous, don't carry weapons, only want a better life and stop the terrorism going on so they can live a peaceful life and their children can prosper and be safe. Guess what happens to those people? Just like the Lekki toll gate, just like the Biafrans, way before the Lekki toll gate protest, the Biafrans protested. IPOB, which I call, is not a group. IPOB is Indigenous People of Biafra. They are indigenous to Biafra and they want to protect their people. They are not terrorists.
Right.
And how dare the terrorist sponsoring Nigerian government that forgives terrorists and then uses the military to shoot dead innocent protesters? How dare them even bring anybody to court regarding terrorism? They need to bring themselves to the kangaroo court. And that's how I see it.
That's how it is. That's what makes sense. That's exactly what makes sense. Let's keep on with the video.
Yeah.
But this is last June. Now, since that time, there have been a couple of hearings held in which Nnamdi's lead counsel, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, and with assistance, has filed a motion to dismiss all of the charges based on the theory that they don't allege actual violations of criminal law. In fact, some of them allege no more than exercise of free speech and association. Let me give you just one example. One of the charges is that Nnamdi Kanu professed his adherence to the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. IPOB, about 4 years ago, September of 2017, uniquely in the whole world, was proscribed as a terrorist organization in an ex-parte proceeding. Ex-parte means IPOB was not given notice. The Attorney General went into court and said, President Buhari has told me that IPOB is a terrorist organization, and so you need to proscribe it. And that was the beginning and end of the case. Now, despite lobbying by the Nigerian government, well-funded, to have other countries list IPOB as a terrorist organization, it has uniformly failed. This is 173 other countries. And indeed, there have been 5 human rights experts from the Human Rights Council of the United Nations that sits in Geneva, who wrote a letter to President Buhari in late 2020, stating they had examined the case against IPOB and were very concerned that there was no due process, that Nigeria seemed to treat.
Can we stop it right there?
Exactly, definitely. Go ahead.
Okay, so you have, again, the kangaroo terrorist hijacked Nigerian government you have them prescribing indigenous people as terrorists with no due process and no evidence. And there was even a letter from the Geneva courts to Buhari saying, like, what are you doing? Exactly. Why are you prescribing innocent people as terrorists? And what act are they doing that's terroristic?
Yeah.
Maybe in Sharia law court,
singing the Biafran anthem is seen as a terrorist act.
Well, I hate to tell Buhari, Sharia law court is not in the southeast corner of the contraption. Southeast is not Sharia law court.
Exactly. You know, and again, you must see what Bruce Fein said. I want our viewers to understand this. All right. There was an ex parte proceedings, right? The ex parte proceedings, what that means simply is when only one party or one lawyer comes in and makes an application behind the other party. All right. The other party is not notified about it, and you only use ex parte proceedings when it is like for a serious matter that needs urgent court attention. All right. So because of the fact maybe someone is about to destroy your house or somebody is about to pull down your building, then you can run to the court and seek an ex parte proceeding, which is, behind the other party, and ask the courts to make a law saying the person should not destroy your house. I hope that makes sense. So in this particular case, there was no reason why the Nigerian government should go behind the IPOB as an organization and not give them like a motion to come and appear before the courts to defend themselves as to why they should not be regarded as a terrorist organization. But besides that, so the first mistake they did was they made it an ex parte proceeding. The second mistake they did was there was no evidence that was used by the judge who allowed for that to make his decision, right? If you're going to tell a judge that these people are terrorist organizations, you need to show the judge proof why these people are a terrorist organization. Why is IPOB a terrorist organization? What have they done? What have they done to be regarded as a terrorist organization? There was no proof. There was nothing that was brought by the judge or by the party, the Nigerian government, to prove this. So therefore, that is exactly what Bruce Fein is saying, that even there were 5 human rights experts from the Human Rights Council in Geneva. That's why I'm telling people that whenever you are speaking about Biafra, you must understand that Biafra is an international it's an international issue. It's an international challenge. It is not just a small, it's not just a local thing. Whenever you guys are talking about Biafra, it's international. The whole world is talking about Biafra. From Geneva, from Cote d'Ivoire, from Kenya, wherever it is, if they don't solve the problem of Biafra, the Biafra is going to be the problem of the whole world. All right. Yes. That is why they need to sit down and say that it is time they discuss this issue about Biafra and how do we put an end to it. And the way the Nigerian government is going about it at this point in time, it's not, they are only making themselves look like a fool.
They are looking like a fool.
In the eyes of the world.
Especially to Americans like me.
Exactly. Biafra is like that fly that keeps taunting at the, at the scrotum of the Nigerian cow, and it's not going to let the cow rest in peace. If they don't take care of that problem right now and solve it, it's going to be a long-standing issue. So that is what Bruce Fein said, that there was nothing to prove, why IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, should be regarded as a terrorist organization. So I'm going to go ahead and keep playing the video.
Search for an independent sovereignty through a referendum by peaceful means was a terrorist act. And these human rights experts said, no, that's protected freedom of association.
Exactly.
And indeed, these 5 experts asked President Buhari, you need to reconsider whether IPOB is a terrorist organization because your process seemed to have violated norms of international law.
Exactly.
They asked President Buhari within 60 days to provide what evidence and what process was utilized to demonstrate that IPOB was a proscribed terrorist organization. That's 60 days. Now that's over a year has elapsed since that request.
They got none.
And President Buhari, Nigeria, has come up with nothing, 0.
All right, let me pause it here quickly. So 60 days, they requested from Buhari to produce a reason why he called the IPOB organization a terrorist organization. They gave him 60 days to do this. He never did it. All right. This is somebody that the Nigerian government has constantly decided to make themselves look real foolish in the eyes of the international courts, international world.
Well, they've made themselves owners of their own court. They think they are the international court because they want to push the laws that they want to put into place on innocent people. That's their whole mentality. But the thing of it is, there's international people, there's international laws, there's human rights violations. You are in violation and you don't have one shred of evidence against the indigenous people of Biafra, except for the fact that they want to peacefully separate from the contraption.
As simple as that. What is the big problem? All right. This is the only time that Nigeria as a country gets to prove that it is a civilized place to live. They can use this particular Biafran issue to prove this, to show to the world that they are civilized, that they know how to follow due process, that it's not just a bunch of mad people running around the world, running around the streets, acting like they know what they are doing.
But they can't do that. Ever since 1914 up until this date, still the same kangaroos.
Let me keep on playing the video.
To justify a listing and mere membership in IPOB under the current Nigerian system is a crime. It's a terrorism crime, even though the mission of IPOB is to secure an independence through peaceful means, referendum. This is speech and association protected by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and it's protected under the Nigerian Constitution if it was honestly honored. Well, that's just one example, I believe, of the kind of charges that are leveled against Nnamdi Kanu. Now, there has been a motion to dismiss all of the charges based upon the flaws in the pleading and the evidence. Additionally, one of the very most prominent Sans throughout Nigeria, Femi Falana, has maintained quite persuasively that given the allegations of where the crimes occurred, the federal government has no authority to prosecute. These are within state jurisdictions, and no state attorney general, no state authority has filed any charges against Nnamdi Kanu. There was a hearing scheduled last.
So he's talking about the state jurisdictions, which I kind of have a little, what do you want to say? I'm kind of like half in and half out, because I've kind of looked at all of the judiciary branches of the contraption. So the state jurisdictions, let me bring it up because I kind of studied this a little bit. Because Nnamdi Kanu says, bring your chalk and chalkboard, okay?
Okay.
The state high court judge, okay, the judges of the high courts of all the different states of the Federation are appointed by the governor, okay? And we know all about these Southeast governors. So whatever judges are in charge of the Southeast states were appointed by the governor of the respective state on the recommendation of National Judicial Council. Okay, keyword. The individual must have been qualified as legal practitioner for at least 10 years. State high courts are headed by the chief judge of the high court of the respective states. And the reason I'm kind of skeptical about this, because who nominates the chief judge of the high courts of the respective states? You know what I mean? It seems like all the other levels of judiciary branches in the failed contraption, are appointed by the president, basically. And even though they do this kangaroo show, like they always do, they have to be going in front of the Senate, and they have to be recommended by the National Judicial Council. But who chooses the National Judicial Council?
The president.
The president. who is over who is over the associated justices and the council?
The president.
The chief justice, but who
appoints the
chief justice?
The president.
The president.
Yeah.
Who nominates Malami, the minister of justice and the attorney general of the country?
The president.
The president. So if the president named Buhari right here is compromised with terrorist sponsoring activities and forgiving terrorist crimes, and who in their right mind can get a fair trial in the failed contraption called Nigeria?
Right.
And this is why it is not fair. And this is why the people, the Biafran people, want referendum. You can't even get a fair trial. You can't even get judicial process. You get taken in front of the Supreme Court with not one shred of evidence. And you get extraordinarily rendition, because Nnamdi Kanu ain't the only person they've extraordinarily rendition. But Bruce Fein will talk about that later in this interview.
Yeah, and we must understand that there has been a failure of due process right from the beginning of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case.
Yes.
All right. The two foundations of law is justice and fairness. All right. Those are the two foundations of law. You have to be just, you have to be fair at all times. That's why the Lady Justice is blind. All right. The Lady's Justice, she doesn't see, she has to be impartial. But this particular case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been a case that the Lady Justice is opening her eyes, because even the Lady Justice that is even sitting on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case has been shown to be unfair. All right. But Bruce Fein is going to go into more details. But I wanted to just say this before I continue with the video, is that as far as whatever it is that they are alleging that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did, the Nigerian courts have no jurisdiction over him. All right. Because he never broadcasted any of those things that they are claiming that he did in Nigeria. Those broadcasts were made outside of Nigeria. So if the Nigerian government wants to, put Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in prison for laws that are committed outside of Nigeria, they have no jurisdiction. All right, they have no jurisdiction to do that, and they don't have any jurisdiction over someone that is, exercising their free speech or exercising their freedom of association. So Nigerian governments right now, they have to rethink what they are doing, their strategy, and see how they can make these things come to an end. You can't continue like this.
But can we have a little laugh today?
Of course.
Can we see what recently failed Buhari said in a statement I believe it was with Channels TV recently?
You want us to talk about it? Should I put that TV? Should I put it on? Should I share?
Yeah. Let's see what he says about the judiciary process. The little failed fake. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me.
No, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
The failed terrorist sponsoring.
Let's talk about that one right now. Let's see. So yeah, we're gonna play this video right now for you.
Let's see what Buhari said.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't dare interfere with that judiciary. Kanu's case is with the judiciary. But what I wonder is, when Kanu was safely in Europe, abusing this administration and mentioning too many things, I never thought really he would voluntarily come and defend himself on the accusation he has. So we are giving him an opportunity.
I want to pause it right there. Because
I'm on the same wavelength as you.
Because he said voluntarily. The president said voluntarily. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not voluntarily come to Nigeria.
But did you hear what he said out of his own mouth too?
That
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said on foreign soil. Why doesn't he come back here?
Mm-hmm. Can you explain that?
He said it out of the horse's mouth. He admitted, Buhari just admitted that the things that they want to hold against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in court, he did in Britain, not in Nigeria.
Not in Nigeria. And again, he also said something that is contradictory. He said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu came voluntarily All right. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not come voluntarily to Nigeria.
Well, he's inviting him to come voluntarily. He's basically saying, threatening Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in that statement, saying, you know, you can talk about Radio Biafra in another foreign land against the government, but we brought you back here so you can try to speak against us here. Exactly. That's how what I took from it.
Exactly. So we can see clearly that, you know, the president of Nigeria, you know, doesn't even understand what's going on. I believe that maybe they've told him what's going on, but he still doesn't understand how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu came to Nigeria. There was no due process of law. You know, there's never been a due process of law in this particular case. I'm very sure that the president and all the people that are involved in all of this, they are still surprised how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still alive today.
And look how the fake president has become live interviews now. Before he was just the audio president. Now he's out of his own horse's mouth. Again, another zoo animal. Out of his own horse's mouth, he's admitted that the things that he is holding against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in court right now, he did in a free country called Britain.
Britain, exactly.
And he made a threat in that comment saying, if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu wants to talk about the Nigerian failed government, he needs to come on Nigerian soil and tell us to our face, which to me is a threat. And that's why they extraordinarily renditioned him, because they plan on, you know, you already know how the zoo government works. We already know what they plan. I don't have to say it on here to get blocked.
Let's keep playing the video.
To defend himself in our system, not to be abusing us from Europe.
Oh my
Again,
God.
abusing. What?
When?
But my question is, when did abuse become a crime? All right, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, first of all, you know, they might say he alleged that he abused, but when did abusing someone become a crime? All right.
Well, first of all, he's not abusing them. He's speaking out against, with evidence, their corrupt, terrorist sponsoring ways. So how is that abuse? That's not abuse.
Exactly. And even if they wanted to say that he was abusing, my question is, if I decide to call somebody a stupid person or a goat, it's a democracy, it's freedom of speech.
Yes.
All right. Like if I decide to call you a goat or a fool or an idiot or whatever kind of words that I decide to come up with, there is no crime against abuse. Yes, we know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu can, you know, sometimes be, you know, a little bit excited and say some few things. But again,
because he's passionate. He's passionate about the people being slaughtered in Biafra land. And you know what? Everything that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said against this zoo trap is the truth, backed with evidence.
Exactly. So, but you know, the problem is all I can see in this particular person that calls himself the president. I see somebody who is very biased, somebody who has this very, you know, egoistic personality. A president should be a leader. It should be somebody who is humble. It should be somebody who should be ready to receive insults. You cannot be a leader and not receive insults from people. All right. That's the first rule of being a leader. You must be able to get insults and dust it off your shoulders and keep moving. All right. You cannot be so angry at Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and lock him up because he was abusing you. You are a leader. You should expect abuses from people.
And
that's
you know
part
what?
of the job.
The Nigerian government has abused me and abused the American government and spoke ill of American people. So should we take them to a kangaroo court and hold that against them?
You know, we must understand this. You know, someone else is saying that blah blah blah. Listen, you have to understand that if you live in a democracy, you must have the power to exercise your rights in the democratic system. Which one of which is free speech? The Nigerian Constitution, which is the law of the land, protects free speech, and free speech obviously, you know, covers, you know, insults. Sometimes it is part of free speech, as long as you are not, but again, people still need to understand that, you know, there is no right, there's no law anywhere that would hold you from, you know, whether the president is annoyed about abuses, that is laughable. But I'm going to go ahead and play the video.
Oh, and by the way, we have little infiltrators that are pretending to be Biafrans making comments saying that why don't we speak out against our leaders? Well, guess what? We're focused on the terrorist sponsoring Nigerian leaders today. Thank you.
Yes. Don't worry about America. You know, if you are living in Nigeria and you're seeing the killings going on, you would go and look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why you support a killing government. In America here, at least there's protection of human rights.
Yes.
Right? Nobody's going about in America killing people. And
you don't have Joe Biden saying, "Oh, you abused me, so let me put you in court."
And you don't have that. So please, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what to talk about, then you should go and bury yourself under the ground because let
them expose how ignorant they are.
Because that is your statements doesn't make any sense, Mr. Whatever your name is. I'm not even going to call your name in this broadcast. You can keep making a fool of yourself. We'll keep laughing at your stupidity.
But we're going to keep continuing whether they are infiltrating and watching or not, because they already know. I'm not going to give up. Nobody's going to give up. This is a spiritual movement. This is, people are fed up. They're fed up. And we're just as stubborn. The Biafran people are stubborn. American people are stubborn. We want freedom. When we have a taste of freedom, you're not taking that freedom away.
All righty. So now let's go ahead and continue to play the video, okay?
As if he was not a Nigerian. Let him come here with us and then criticize us here. And then Nigerians know that I don't interfere with the judiciary. Let him be listened to. But those who are saying that he should be released, no, we cannot release him.
No possibility of a political solution?
No, there is a possibility of political solution. If people behave themselves, all well and good. You can go to a foreign country.
What does he mean by behave himself?
Behaves themselves. Who is he? The father of all the people, and they better listen to him as a dictator, or he's going to punish now. That's exactly their mentality.
That's the mentality. Their mentality is just shut up, sit down, and do what we say. That's not how you lead.
In a democracy, by the way, they get to democracy.
You know, in a democracy, how do you expect people to just shut up, sit down, and and just do what you tell us to do? We'll come and kill you. Don't say anything. We're going to take your land. Don't say anything. We're going to rape your women. Don't say anything. We're going to kill your children. Don't say anything. Just behave yourself, sit down, and act like a toddler.
And get slaughtered. Just sit down and shut up and get slaughtered. That's what this kangaroo government sponsored and hijacked by terrorists does. This
is exactly what they expect the Nigerian people to do. Just sit down and just don't say anything. It doesn't make sense. There is a time, even if you're dealing with a child, if you keep beating that child, there will be a time that child would either cry. If the child keeps crying and you don't stop beating that child, after a while, that child might run away from the home.
Or turn on you.
Yeah, or turn on you. We've seen situations of children who have been maltreated, running away from home. Some of them have even, been, gone ahead to maybe report their parents, to the police. So it even happens to children. It even happens to lovers in relationship. There's a limit to the pain and suffering that someone can take. All right. The pain and suffering has been more than enough. The pain and suffering has been unbearable for, the Biafran people, and even all across Nigerians. Even that's why you see the Yorubas are rising up now, because they are feeling a bit of the pain and suffering that this administration, as well as even the administrations in the past, have cost Biafrans and still cost Biafrans till today.
And Bucci, I'm also seeing messages. People are getting really hurt. Their feelings are getting hurt by what we're saying today. You know what? We don't care. You need to educate yourself. Get your chalk and chalkboard and write down and study who, like just Buhari right now, he said, I do not interfere with the judiciary. You pick the judiciary. He picks every person above the state judiciary even.
And we all can both agree that the judiciary is impartial in Nigeria. There's been so many times when we've seen collusion between the executive and the judiciary. All right.
Yeah.
So we cannot act like, oh, the judiciary is, oh, I don't interfere with the judiciary. Come off it. The president can pardon criminal. Even the president has the power to pardon criminals.
Exactly.
All right. The governor of a state has the power to pardon, alleged criminals or suspects or whatever. How is that in itself is interference? So the president.
Buhari has a long history. If you study him and not take my word for it, he already has a long history of interfering with judiciary processes since he even went in the military. So go study that.
Exactly. And we know for sure that, all of this is going to, but let's play this. It's almost about to be done.
And keep on sending incorrect economic and security problem against your country, and thinking that you never have to account for what you have been doing. Let him account for what he has been doing.
Mr. President, as
my God. Can I say something? Did you see the fear in those eyes of those media people asking him those questions?
Mm-hmm.
The Nigerian government has such fear in the media, and they've arrested and even slaughtered some media members if they say or do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or injustice.
It is a cycle. It's an endless cycle of suffering. Even the people that are meant to do the work of journalists are not even they're also
not free.
But let's continue with this interview of Bruce Fein, and let's see how we continue to analyze it as the time goes on.
Last November 10th to decide and address the issues that are presented in the motion to dismiss. But they were canceled, postponed in part because the government, again, in violation of international law, refused me access to the courtroom. I had not engaged in any disruptive activity. I'm one of Nnamdi Kanu's counsel of choice. And international law, including, again, the Nigerian Constitution, protects the defendant's right to have counsel of his choice.
So let's talk about that. We know that Bruce Fein has tried several times to go to, he has been in Nigeria. He has made public appearances in Nigeria. He has made media appearances in Nigeria. He has also tried to, access the courts. And, it is, of course, people might say, oh, he's an international person. He doesn't have access to the courts. But that's not true. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has access to the lawyer of his choice. And, of course, Bruce Fein doesn't have to, and Susan, you're on mute. And Bruce Fein doesn't have to, make appearance. He doesn't have to speak on behalf of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the courtroom. He may not, maybe because he's not licensed in the court, but because of the fact that he has other lawyers in Nigeria, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has other lawyers in Nigeria, he can, go as part of his as part of his legal team representative and sit down and observe the proceedings. All right, Nigeria, I've been in court one time where I have seen a lawyer from the United States actually be in court to observe the proceedings. Susan, you're on mute. Be in court to observe the proceedings, and that is exactly what Bruce Fein was denied. They denied him access to the courts, and that in itself is a violation of of so-called the international law that Nigeria in itself professes that they practice.
Did you hear Bruce Fein over and over saying violation, 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 inhumane, human rights violations, violation, international court, violation? One has to ask themselves, how many violations does the contraption get? How many Christians are they going to slaughter? How many Biafrans are they allowed to slaughter? How many human rights violations do they get? And this is where I hold Britain accountable. And of course, our State Department as well, which we'll go into it later, showing what we want to show with Chris Smith. But, the thing is, violation, violation, violation. How many violations do they get? And mind you, they're trying to try an innocent man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They're the ones committing violation after violation after violation. Who holds them accountable? That's what I, as a free U.S. citizen, want to know. Who holds these terrorist sponsors accountable when they do violation, 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 violations? And then they wonder why Biafrans want separated from them. They look so ignorant to the international community. Mm-hmm. You know, when I went and protested in Washington, D.C., and I went to the Nigerian embassy, do you know, in Washington, D.C., do you know there was Nigerians lined up at the gate? They don't even, it was in the heat of summer. The windows were wide open. The whole place, the whole building looked dark. There was trash in the yard of the embassy. Somebody had brought red paint looking like dripping blood on the sign of the Nigerian embassy. It looked so dark and dreary. Wow. Can you imagine having to be born and grow up in a so-called contraption that just violation after violation after violation after violation against you, and you can't even speak out, and nobody in the international community is going to help you or do anything?
It is sad. It is horrible. It's a horrible experience. But let's keep going on with this video.
And at that hearing, there was a postponement, an adjournment, if you will, to January 18th. And that's the current schedule for hearing the motion. So January 18th is not the trial date. It's not to entertain evidence and witnesses that would purport to show some kind of criminality on Mr. Kanu's part. It's simply to decide whether there's anything sufficient, even in these threadbare allegations, that justify going to trial.
Let's stop that right there. Okay, there is no trial, number one, because he's innocent. Right. Okay, and there should never be a trial. Number two, I find it funny how Malami looks so crazy to the international community. He brought a trial in front of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, one of the biggest countries, most populated. Well, I don't call it a country, I call it a contraption. One of the biggest contraptions in Africa, the most populated contraption in Africa. And he doesn't have any evidence, and they keep having to prolong it. They keep going to this date, this date, this date, this date. How crazy is this?
It is crazy. It is crazy. And, you know, there is, as you said, you know, they just keep postponing the case because they have nothing against him. And they must understand that, as you said, January 18 is not a continuation of a trial. All right. January 18 is what in law they usually call, you know, a pretrial, a pretrial motion or a pretrial date, where they figure out if this case should even go to trial at all. Right? If there is sufficient evidence to prove that this case should go to trial at all. All right? Because we can see categorically from all that has been happening from 2017 or maybe 2015, from the beginning of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial or case, is there's only been violations upon violations upon violations of human rights. It's just the evidence is just stockpiling and stockpiling and stockpiling until the eventual day of judgment. All right. So that is what is being said here, that on 18th of January, there would only be a pre-trial thing to see if this case should even go to trial at all.
And can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
If Britain was smart, they would side with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in this fake proceeding. Because number one, Biafrans and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu are freedom-loving people. They want away from the terrorists, and they're tired of being slaughtered. And the U.S. is seeing this, and our governmental leaders are seeing this, and we are helping them see this. And we're educating people all over the U.S. about what's going on over there. And if Britain has any shred, because let me tell you, you are our ally right now. But if we prove that you are siding with terrorists and terrorist sponsors, get ready to to be dismissed as an ally to the U.S. because I have spoken out strongly against this. Britain, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of terrorists or are you on the side of innocent people being slaughtered? And you better be careful who you choose. Because let me tell you, you are going to be seen in the international community as lovers of terrorists. And I'm already seeing that as a U.S. citizen. Because how can you know that the U.S. government don't do anything because of you, Britain, because of you. You say you've got it handled. You don't have it handled. And neither does the U.S. State Department have it handled. And we're watching from America. And let me tell you, I do not want to be your ally. How ashamed am I to have an ally that my grandparents fought for against Hitler, why this ICC court was even invented, and you're sitting there siding with terrorists. So, Britain, you better get a hold on yourselves and you better go help Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, an innocent man. Anyway, sorry.
And we must also understand that Britain has this responsibility of doing this because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is actually a British citizen.
Exactly.
All right. He when he was arrested, or rather when he was kidnapped, he was holding the British passport. All right. That was the passport that he was using to travel. So they do have a duty to, to protect Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. All right. And that duty, they should not fail in. But I'm going to go ahead and keep playing the video of Bruce Fein.
You also took a swipe at George, and you actually pointed out the fact that the judge is not immune from criminal prosecution. And Justice Binta Yaku, who's been working in collusion with the DSS and the FG to punish MNK as a political prisoner. Could you expatiate on that?
Yes. First of all, you are absolutely correct that under international law, criminal law, judges are not immune if they become participants in what is a clear travesty of justice. As an example, there were multiple Nazi judges who enforced Adolf Hitler's Nuremberg laws that were flagrantly discriminatory and illegitimately applied to Jews. And they were prosecuted after World War II for crimes against humanity. And the International Criminal Court has jurisdiction over individuals acting under color of foreign law, including judges, who then lend themselves to complicity in crimes against humanity. And one of the ways in which you can do that is to disguise what is no more than a trumped up kangaroo court as somehow due process. And the judge clearly is vulnerable to investigation and prosecution if the evidence is forthcoming showing that she's working hand in hand with DSS, as opposed to doing what a judge is supposed to do: act impartially, act independently, act based solely on the judgment of someone learned in the law in examining allegations, the facts, and the law, and coming to a conclusion on that basis. Now, what the law requires in circumstances where a judge does not feel in good faith that they can execute the demands required, and that for fear or otherwise, we don't know what kinds of threats or implied threats have been communicated to the judge. If she lets Nnamdi Kanu under the law free, what kind of retaliation there might be. But if there is that fear of retaliation and it's impossible to make a judgment on the merits, then the law requires resignation and moving so there's not direct complicity.
So I want us to pause right there and make some analysis quickly. As he said, Bruce Fein said that even the judges handling Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case are not, they're not immune from prosecution. Exactly. If there is a show that if there's evidence to show complicity, in continuing in just keep detaining him with no sense of moving forward with the case, and they are being complicit, they can also be brought to justice, just like the Nazi judges were brought for their role in killing the Jews.
Yeah, Isn't it kind of ironic how the terrorist sponsoring Nigerian government kind of parallels with Nazi Germany and Hitler?
Mm-hmm.
Who did Hitler took over the military, or attempted. He attempted to take over the judiciary system. He had judges that he chose to judge over the Jewish people, and they were held later accountable in the international court. Same thing with Nigeria.
Right.
Failed state Nigeria. Who is the judge presiding over MNK? We all know.
Binta Yako.
Okay. And who nominated her? Who chooses her?
Obviously, again, the president of the United States.
Or not the United States.
Sorry, the president of Nigeria.
The president of, exactly. So all of these chief justices and Supreme Court justices and all of that in Nigeria, every single one of them is chosen by the presidency, by proxy even, because the presidency, he can say all day long that they go in front of the Senate of Nigeria and, they go through this vetting process. They don't. He gets to choose the people that are over them, which means, and look, has anybody that even believes in one Nigeria ever seen a fair vote? So even the senators are even compromised. Even the anybody in high position in the failed state Nigeria has potential to be compromised, because number one, there's no fair voting system.
Right. Everything in Nigeria is hijacked by either the ruling class, either the corrupt ruling class, or by the corrupt tribalistic government that is aimed at annihilating a group of people.
Yes.
You must understand that one of the things that the Nigerian government hates so much is the Biafran people, and I honestly don't know the reason why, because it's crazy. The nation Nigeria can lead by example and showcase how great they are. As I always say, that the fact that the Biafran people want their own nation doesn't stop Nigeria from existing. Exactly. All right, it doesn't stop Nigeria from existing. All it just does, it just creates new boundary lines. It creates new boundary lines in the map. All right.
Can I clarify something? Biafra existed before Nigeria. Biafra has been in existence for 5,000 years. We even have records in the U.S. when there was the slave trade out of Calabar.
Right.
Biafra existed way before Nigeria. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to just put the point is, the fact that, Biafrans are claiming self-determination and asking for self-determination doesn't stop Nigeria from existing. All right. The folks that want Biafra will vote for Biafra in a referendum. And the folks that want to stay in Nigeria can stay in Nigeria. All right. It's as simple as that. All right. The fact that the Biafrans are shouting Biafra doesn't necessarily stop your own rights to exist as a Nigerian. All right. But the only problem is when you as a Nigerian, is out against the rights of people to identify as Biafrans. That's where the problem lies. All right. And that's exactly where, the issue is on, and that's where we want to, we're analyzing today. All right. Now let's go on with this video.
This violation of human rights.
But shouldn't the judge be, required to recuse herself even at this point in time, based on this, the fact that she's been indicted in these instances?
It's certainly true that I practice many times in U.S. courts. The standard for recusal is if there's an impression, even an appearance of an inability to act impartially. And I think that's been amply demonstrated in the way this case has been handled from the outset.
Oh, yeah.
We have to remember that every day that elapses is another day where Nnamdi Kanu is being illegally detained. Again, we have detention beginning in late June. There still has been no hearing that requires the government to show evidence of criminality, not at all. So we have a situation where the judge is permitting punishment sentence before the trial, which sounds like a page out of Alice in Wonderland, and shows how.
I want to pause it right here. We must understand this. Now the question that the interviewer asked Bruce Fein was, should the judge recuse herself? Now the word recuse meaning, should the judge excuse herself from this case? Does the judge tell the parties that I don't want to be a part of this case, tells the whoever assigned had the case, like, because there's now the question about impartiality is that as Bruce Fein said, this case has been started since June, when they extraordinarily rendition Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and even before that, it began in like 2017, all right, when they attacked his home. And I wanted to also mention that Justice Binta Nyako, as some of you may know, she's also a Fulani woman, all right. She's from the the Fulani extraction as well. She was born in I believe she was born in Adamawa State, all right. She's Nigerian, obviously, and she is even married. She's one of the 4 wives of the former Adamawa State Governor, Vice Admiral Murtala Nyako. All right, and now we must understand that this lady has proven or has shown this as there could be a form of bias. All right, she is obviously state. She is appointed by the state, so she's obviously maybe leaning towards satisfying the desires of the state. But again, she has her own powers to seek for speedy trial or speedy conclusion of this case, so that all the parties would know where they stand moving forward. All right. And now, as he said, the fact that she is delaying and acting all of this does not necessarily stop her from being prosecuted later on down the road. If there is proof of to show complicity, meaning if there is proof to show that there is a connection between her and the state to illegally detain Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been with the DSS since June, and now we're going into January, and all we keep seeing is adjournment. And I want to just say that this is a good time for Nigeria to show that they care about human rights. How they treat Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is going to showcase to the world how much human rights violation exists in Nigeria. We've seen so many violations in the past, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case is fresh right now because it is currently in the front burner of the Nigerian government to showcase to the world where they stand on human rights violations.
They won't show that they have humanity, and they haven't shown humanity since the beginning of the contraption. And the reason they don't show humanity or human rights is because they're not held accountable for human rights. As you can see, Britain covers up for them. So they think that they can just get away with it. But guess what? Every dog has his day, as we say in America. So even though the judge and everybody thinks they're getting away with all this right now, there's going to come a day when the rubber meets the road, another saying in America, where you have to answer. And if I was the judge, she's between a rock and a hard place, because I don't mean that like I'm feeling sorry for her, because I don't, because obviously she is a Fulani extraction, and I'm not saying anything against Fulanis, but I'm saying she was chosen by a terrorist sponsoring Fulani government. So there's either one of 2 things that I know. She's either with the Fulani and she's a terrorist of Fulani, or sponsor of terrorists along with the terrorist sponsoring government, or she's being threatened, because we all know what the terrorist sponsoring Nigerian government does. They like to threaten people. They threaten people in the media. They threaten Biafrans. They'll illegally torture you and rendition you from other countries. They'll do everything. That's why some people are scared to do the right thing. So either way it goes, I don't think this judge knows what she's up against. And I hope she's listening, because eventually whatever happens to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and we know he's going to get free because the spirit tells us he will. But she will be held accountable along with the terrorist sponsoring government. She'll be held accountable.
Exactly, and it's time, because we are seeing what happened with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu happening to other people in Nigeria. A lot of people think that it's only going to happen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but if they allow this to happen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today, they are going to use this as a precedent to do this to other people. All right, if they allow Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case to continue like this, believe me, it can happen to you tomorrow. All right, it can happen to me tomorrow. So we have to fight for what is right. We have to fight for we have to fight for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because fighting for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is equivalent to fighting for yourself. All right, fighting for the right of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be protected is equivalent to fighting for your own rights to be protected as a citizen, even if you call yourself a Nigerian. It doesn't matter what you consider yourself to be. If you are laughing at Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and saying, yeah, he deserves it, you Biafrans deserve it, tomorrow this same thing might happen to you. They can come pick you up from somewhere and try to mess you up just because you have a different opinion from what the government of that day is, and that is not fair. That is against justice. All right, let's go on and keep playing the video.
I think far and how irregular these proceedings are, and I would agree with the observation that the way in which the process has been handled would indicate the judge needs to recuse herself, stand aside, because no longer is there appearance of impartiality. There have been ex parte communications with the prosecution alone, and that's simply on its face showing prejudice against the defendant.
You had also said that you'll be pursuing all international and diplomatic platforms to see that justice is done and all fundamental norms of laws are complied with as regards as far as this trial is concerned. You mentioned the fact that you'll be taking the case up to the international courts, the International Working Group on the Arbitrary Detention, as well as the International Criminal Courts, the International Court of Justice that's in The Hague, as well as the U.S. Congress. How could you give us an update on what has been achieved so far?
Yeah, so we know that the working group on arbitrary detention, and I've made multiple submissions, is actively considering the case. Now, obviously, it would be wrong for them to share views on one side rather than other before there's an opportunity for the government of Nigeria to respond. But I know it is under active consideration. The working group meets 3 times a year, and I will be alerted if the government of Nigeria disputes any of the submissions that have been made. Now, what is the consequence? The authority of the working group is to identify detainees who are being held in violation of international law. Since the working group, as you can imagine, does not have armed forces, it doesn't have police force to enforce its judgments, it does have, under international law, binding authority that needs to be respected by other countries and judiciaries, or risk sanctions. So that's what an opinion out of the working group that finds Nnamdi Kanu is being held illegally would have, we believe, strong influence not only within Nigeria, but in other countries that might be considering sanctions for holding Nnamdi Kanu.
I want to just pause there for a minute, so that we can understand exactly what the ICC is all about. All right. So pretty much the ICC is an organization that is, an international organization that helps prosecute crimes against, humanity, especially crimes of genocide, where they've been characterized, where a nation or a state actor, is aimed at destroying a part of a national, ethnic or racial or religious group by killing its members. That is what genocide is. And we can all agree that what the Biafrans have been going through in Nigeria is equivalent to genocide. I don't know if you saw the video. There was one particular video of the Nigerian army that was just shooting at a village just with a machine gun. I don't know if you saw it, and there was nobody that was like shooting at them. They were just shooting just aimlessly at a group of people or group of homes. And there's multiple videos. Even Amnesty International has mentioned about this. What's the Human Rights Watch has also shown violations of the human rights of Biafran people. Now, we must, and now that's exactly what he's saying. Like the working group of the ICC, they don't have binding authority that needs to be respected. But again, what the ICC does is when they prosecute, the people who are parties or people who are making, who are taking action against the Biafrans, they will create sanctions. Now, those sanctions will be held by other nations to decide how they were going to treat Nigeria. They can, as Chris Smith said, the act, the Magnitsky Act that says that they can hold assets of government officials of Nigeria in America who are party to genocide. They can hold their assets. They can detain their assets. They can also stop them from flying abroad. All right. So if there is proof to show that some parties are involved in sending out this people to go and kill Biafrans, they can be put in justice.
And this is why I say it's important that we have multiple irons in the fire and keep letting our governments know what's going on with evidence about what's going over there, and keep educating people around you about what's going over there. Because it might seem like right now it's not helping, but little by little, because I know we're going to show the video of Chris Smith later, coming up, but little by little, there will be enough pressure on these international governments. And I know France, I want to mention France too. France is going to be leading starting this year, January, the European Union. And let me tell you, if the terrorists and the terrorist sponsors are allowed this genocide, they are not going to stop in Nigeria. They haven't stopped ever since taking over Northern Africa. Now they're down in West Africa, and they keep moving down, down, down. Let me tell you, this is going to destabilize Africa if they're allowed to reign. And not only will it affect the US, it will affect Europe, it'll affect the UK, because right now the British government to me is so lost too. Because you've got the British government playing the Fulanis to get free oil. Okay? Then you got Fulani terrorists playing the British government saying, oh, we're good, we're this, we're that. But they're trying to take over Europe and the UK and the US eventually. Because a lot of these terrorists, they weren't just woke up in Africa one day and say, oh, I'm going to be a terrorist today. They follow Middle Eastern terrorists who have already gone on record saying they're going to take over Africa first, then move to Europe, then move to the US. So, these puppets, you got the puppet Britain playing the Fulani's terrorists, then you got the Fulani terrorists playing the puppet Britain, because the Fulani terrorists know in their mind, let's just go with what Britain says. So, but eventually we're going to take them over. We're going to use their help to take over Africa. Then we're going to come and take over them. Then you have the British government saying, oh, we want free oil and the riches of the land, so let's use the Fulani Janjaweeds as a puppet. You know what I mean? So eventually what Britain is doing, what the terrorists are doing, is going to destabilize Africa. And once they destabilize Africa, they're going to move on to Europe, because there's going to be the biggest humanitarian crisis that this planet has ever seen. If the terrorists are allowed. This is why we speak out. This is why we still remind our government and governments around the world, and we should not relent. Because even if they won't do anything, we need them to know what's going on over there. So that's why I totally fight for that stuff. But Britain better wake up, because number one, I disown them as my ally until I start seeing them side with the innocent slaughtered people and less on the terrorist sponsors, they're not my ally to the US. And I'm going to pressure my government to not see them as an ally to us until that happens. So Britain better rethink what they're doing, because they're looking pretty bad in the international community too. Same with the European Union. You want to complain about African immigrants and how much money it is to support African immigrants, but you're not doing anything to help what's destabilizing Africa and making innocent people have to leave their indigenous lands.
And we must understand this, we've seen how the United States response towards the Afghanistan crisis was. They pulled out of the Afghanistan after 20 years. They realized after 20 years that they cannot control the Taliban in Afghanistan. All right. So what is the proof that the United States thinks that they can control the Fulani herdsmen, the ravaging Boko Haram, all of those threats coming in from the north of Nigeria? What proof do they think they have that they will be able to handle it?
And not only that, but the British.
Exactly.
The British think that the Fulani see them as their friends, because they want the British to think that, because that's how they're playing you in their house of cards. Mm-hmm. Because once they get your trust, then guess what they do? They use that to conquer you. Same with the Southeast governors. Look at them. They're little puppets for the Fulani terrorists to take over. We'll pretend to be your friend as a terrorist, and then once you trust us, guess what we're going to do? That's when we're going to slip our little serpent fingers and grab what's yours.
Exactly. As you can see, as you've said it, that's just true. It is the way it is. That's the way that these people are playing their game. They are playing this game for the long term. As the last time we had one of our broadcasts, we had mentioned how, these Boko Haram, Fulani Hiswap, they are suffering from a high degree of inferiority complex. And most of the people that they look up to are the Taliban. They look up to the Taliban, the ISIS of this world, the Al-Qaeda of this world. They look up to those people as their masters. And they've seen how successful they have been in places like Syria, Afghanistan. They've seen how they've been successful. And they want to replicate that same success in Nigeria. They want to replicate that same success in West Africa. And the only way they can do that is if they take over Nigeria. All right. And if care isn't taken, we've seen how much power these people leverage in Nigeria, how they're able to move their cows, kill people, eat other people's lands and products in their farms and everything.
And not only that, but Europe and the US might be successful in destabilizing the money that goes to the Middle Eastern terrorists. That's why they want to conquer Africa first. Africa is rich with minerals, with oil, with money. And that's what the terrorist weakness is. We need money to fuel our terrorism and to take over places. So what better place than to take over Africa first and then move on, destabilize Africa. But don't you know, the Nigerian terrorist sponsoring government likes to blame people like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu of terrorism and destabilizing security in the African continent, when the terrorist sponsors and terrorists are the ones destabilizing Africa as a whole.
Exactly.
And the European Union and common folks like myself, I'm not a politician. I am just an ordinary citizen in the US, can see it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, but you have politicians in the European Union, you have politicians in the UK, you even have politicians here in the USA who can't look at anything and see what's coming.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and
it would be in our best interest and the interest of the UK to side with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on this.
I feel like, I feel strongly that IPOB is the only defense against terrorism in West Africa as it stands right now.
In all of Africa.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, what will the South Africans do? And I hope there's South Africans listening to our broadcast. What will the South Africans do if these terrorists are able, which I don't believe they will be, because I don't believe God will push my spirit this hard. But what will the South African countries do if the terrorists are able to destabilize Nigeria and take Nigeria over. That's why referendum, let peaceful people go so that they can create, prosper, and help protect Africa. And it's not white people protecting Africa, it's African indigenous people helping to protect Africa.
Simple. It's
took very simple.
It took the same, indigenous people of Afghanistan, to protect the Afghanistani people against the Taliban. As soon as America withdrew its support against the people of Afghanistan that were protecting Afghanistan, and when they withdrew their support and started supporting the Taliban, I won't even say the Taliban, but even the government of Afghanistan, that's when they fell, because they realized that the government of Afghanistan, most of them were as corrupt like Nigeria. They were supporting the Taliban. So
that was mind you, their military was infiltrated.
Exactly. The military was infiltrated by the Taliban. So the same modus operandi, if America makes that same mistake, or even the Britain, they make the same mistake by supporting this so-called government that is sponsoring terrorists, they will end up at the end of the day giving the weapons to the enemies that would end up taking those same weapons to kill Nigerians. All right. And we have to be very careful. But we are going to be watching them closely.
And can I say one more thing that's not said enough? Do you know there's Biafrans that joined our U.S. military and helped protect our freedoms here in America that we enjoy? And for us not to go and protect a freedom-loving people like Biafrans, it really troubles me. I'm sorry, but not sorry. It troubles me.
Yeah. We can say that again. It troubles all of us, and it's sad. If the American government should bring a roster of the most people who are joining their army from Nigeria, the tribe or the region of people that are joining their army, the American army, you will find out that most of the people in that list will be Biafrans. All right, the Biafrans are the ones that are joining the armies of America, even the armies of Israel, to protect the land of America. And now it's time for America to step up and protect, the people of Biafra, the indigenous people of Biafra. And, they are not doing enough, but we'll keep watching.
In violation of international law. Just as an example, and although the cases are not parallel, you remember when Umaru years ago, about 10 years ago, was attempted to be extraordinarily renditioned to Nigeria in a crate. Because he allegedly had stolen funds. He was not a character who had, unspoiled reputation. And when the British authorities discovered this attempted kidnapping, extraordinary rendition, they not only caused his release, but in addition, they broke relations with Nigeria for 2 years.
Exactly.
So that's the kind of international sanctions that may ensue.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell me something, Britain, and I hope any British citizen is watching this. They extraordinarily renditioned another Nigerian from Britain, put him in a crate, and they I studied it. They put something in his throat to keep him breathing.
This is the case. I have it right here on Wikipedia. So now this is Umaru Diko.
Yeah,
right?
and we know he probably wasn't a good guy. You know what I mean? But the thing is, Britain, under their own noses, the Nigerian government has a pattern, number one, and was able to go under the nose of the British government to extraordinarily rendition somebody from Britain. And they broke off relations for 2 years. And this guy, he wasn't no angel, like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an angel. I'm sorry, I'm partial. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I'm partial. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an angel to me. And Britain broke relations with Nigeria for 2 years regarding this.
I want everyone to look at the screen. All right. If you look at the screen, you will see Umaru Diko. The reason why we're bringing this up is because the lawyer brought it up. he mentioned the Umaro Dikko's case. Umaro Dikko is the same, almost similar to what happened to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. If you look right here, it says on July 5th, or rather, let's start from here. A military coup occurred on the 31st December 1983, where they overthrew the government of Shigari. Dikko fled into exile in London, as well as other ministers and party officials of the NPN, National Party of Nigeria. The new military regime of Shigari accused him of large-scale corruption while in office, embezzling millions of dollars from the nation's oil revenue. So he was not even, as you said, he wasn't an angel.
And you know who was part of this rendition as well?
Who was part of it?
Buhari. But anyway, go ahead.
So now they played a central role in Dikko affair, where they found him drugged in a crate at Stansted Airport in UK, and that was being claimed as diplomatic baggage. And he was an apparent victim of a government-sanctioned kidnapping, and he was headed to Lagos from the UK. Now we must understand that when this happened, the Dikko affair, where this was a joint Nigerian-Israeli attempt to kidnap Umaro Dikko. So even Israel at that time, they were part of this so-called kidnapping, and they tried to put Umaro Dikko in a crate. All right.
They did. They found him in a crate.
They found him in a crate, actually. They even put him in a crate.
Yeah, there's a picture. If you go and get your chalkboard and chalk, to anybody that wants to study this, there's a picture of him in the crate, passed out from the poison that they gave him. And they kept an airway open for him. They put a tube in his airway. But anyway, go ahead.
And you must understand that when this happened, when the UK found out that there was a kidnapping operation, they sanctioned Nigeria. There was a repercussion. I want you to look at the repercussions here. I said the Nigerian and Israeli government never admitted any connection to the incident. Nonetheless, the British government immediately expelled. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Immediately expelled 2 members of the Nigeria High Commission in London. All right. They expelled them, including the High Commissioner. Diplomatic relations with Nigeria were broken off for 2 years. The CEO of Nigeria Airways was at one point almost arrested by the British police. In the aftermath of the affair, Nigeria filed a formal extradition request for Dikko, but it was refused. So they even filed an extradition request for Dikko. In this particular case for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Nigeria never filed it. They never filed a formal extradition request for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That was even refused. In Dikko's case, they filed an extradition request. And you must realize that in Dikko's case, Umaro Dikko's case, it was during a military regime. All right. And we know that the military at that point, they were breaking lots of laws. But Nigeria, as it's today, is under a democratic regime. So they have no excuse.
Supposedly.
They have no excuse to be acting like it is a kangaroo administration. They must do the right things. All right. And now, the Nigerian government's war against the previous government's corruption was also weakened, as the British government also rejected Nigeria's request to extradite other politicians wanted in Nigeria on corruption charges, and they lived in exile in Britain. Dikko was eventually asked to return to Nigeria. He accepted the invitation and then set up a political party. But the point that we're trying to make in all of this is the fact that the Nigerian government was sanctioned by the British. All right, they were sanctioned by the British for their actions, and
for 2 years, 2 years.
And even the Nigerian High Commissioner was sent out of UK. They told him to get out just because of an attempted kidnapping. Now, not to talk of an actual kidnapping that was carried out by the Nigerian government for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case. So these are the expected sanctions that Bruce Fein was talking about. But let's go ahead and keep playing.
If the Nigerian government did not comply with a ruling of the working group of the Human Rights Council. The other cases that are more, they are on a slower track because the requirements of the law are a little more arduous. We're really following the path of the Gambia in the International Court of Justice, sued Myanmar for genocide against Rohingya. This is in 2020 and got an initial ruling. But there are many elements of diplomacy involved in one country deciding to sue another for genocide, but that's in track, and we believe that the working group decision should propel that in an accelerated fashion.
Now, I'd like to get your perspective on on the U.S. government's stance as far as this issue is concerned. We know that when the Democrats have been passionate about Nigeria, especially during the Obama administration, and we know that at some point in time, Joe Biden then, as well as Hillary Clinton, spoke out against some of the human rights violations in the country. But recently, some couple of months back, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited the country, but there was no strong indication that he strongly pushed against these human rights violations, as well as the flagrant disregards of violations with regards to the rule of law in this country. So what's going on there? Is America no longer interested in human rights and the rule of law as far as their foreign policy is concerned with regards to Nigeria?
And I'm going to let you analyze this one. Well, all right.
I want you to let Bruce talk first before we analyze this.
All right. Sounds good.
I don't know whether I could concur with all the rigor of the statement. The United States, like other countries, acts for its own national interest. It's not, an altruistic institution. I mean, we still haven't taken any measures of seriousness against Saudi Arabia for assassinating one of our journalists, Jamal Khashoggi. We feel our oil interests or selling weapons to Saudi Arabia is too important. Now, what's going on in Nigeria? I don't know what's going on in the inner circles of the administration. I think that historically in Africa, the United States has often deferred to Great Britain with regard to former colonies. And unfortunately, that's another angle that I'm actively pursuing. The United Kingdom, for really, in my view, and inexplicable reasons, has not really voiced defense of Nnamdi Kanu, even though he's a citizen of the UK. And the extraordinary rendition was against a UK citizen. And why that UK reticence, it's not clear to me. I hope to meet with the Foreign Secretary and clear that up.
Let's clear it up, Bruce.
But I think it's premature to say that the United States has kind of written off Nigeria as a failed state as long as they at least purport to attack terrorism and sell us oil. Who cares? Even though, and one, I think, earmark of that is the rather controversial sale and delivery of these A-29 Super Tucano aircraft. You know that the United States has not given Nigeria free rein over deploying their use, insisting they be deployed only in the Northeast and Northwest. It's just not where Biafra is. And we think that's because the administration doesn't trust the Nigerian government to use it, against so-called terrorist groups. And that's why the supervision persists. So I think that we have a situation where the Biden administration doesn't really have a complete game plan. It obviously doesn't have the highest priority of human rights on the agenda. I don't think any country does that. Countries are not philanthropic institutions. We don't want to be too cynical, but we need to recognize that as we move forward and try to make it clear, I believe, to the American government that they would benefit from a peaceful and viable separate sovereignty for Biafra, and defeating radical Islamic terrorism and promoting international peace and security in the region.
Now, finally,
please pause it.
I want you to analyze it while I take a very quick break. I'm gonna give you the full reign of the screen. I want you to analyze this because, first of all, I want you to analyze it as an American.
Well, I want to wait to analyze it when you're here.
No, I want you to analyze it. Go ahead and analyze it. I will join you quickly, okay? But I want you, because you're an American, I want you to analyze it fully, and I'll be back. But please break it down for those who are watching.
Okay. So I want to say that the U.S. is not an innocent party in what's going on in the destabilization of the terrorist sponsoring zoo. Are we the main reason? No. Are we innocent? No. And when he speaks of America, he's speaking of the American government that we voted into power. Okay. The average US citizen, if they knew like what I know as a US citizen, what's going on in the failed Nigeria and everything and all the evidence is behind it, would not agree with us even getting anything from that country, which, might I add, the Trump administration tried to become energy independent and tried to tell the rest of Congress we should not be buying oil or any type of other thing from a terrorist sponsoring country, period. So what Bruce is saying is the American government, number one, is kind of held, not hostage, but held up because obviously there's American interest with oil in Nigeria. And I looked into this and I'm totally ashamed to even say this. This is why I've come up with a plan that maybe we need to not only just protest the government, we need to protest these oil companies that are getting oil from a terrorist sponsoring country, Nigeria. And number two, why is the Biden administration have no plan? Why are we buying oil? This is why we need to educate average, ordinary US citizens. We need to educate average, ordinary US citizens about what's going on over there. I was just telling them, Bucci, we are not innocent in America. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons we're kind of held up in Nigeria is, number one, Britain. Mm-hmm. And our interest in oil there, which I have said that the U.S. instead of just protesting our government, we should protest here in the U.S. against the oil companies that are benefiting from the oil and the politicians that are benefiting from the oil. And when he talks about the Biden administration not having a plan, they don't have a plan. Look how long it took for them to even acknowledge that Boko Haram, to get Nigeria to, or the international community to say that Boko Haram is a terrorist group.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we are not innocent in this. And believe me, the U.S. average citizens like me, we don't want this. We do not want what's going on. We do not support this. This is why it's very crucial to educate people like myself. And thanks to Biafrans, I would not be educated. Mm-hmm. If it weren't for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I would not be educated. I'm a white lady. If you want to put a color on me, I don't put a color on myself. I'm a human being. But if you want to put a color on me, I'm a white lady saying that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu educated me in America. This is why I say he is greater than our politicians. Because he sees what's coming and they don't.
Yeah.
So I agree with Bruce. There, a lot of these politicians, our own State Department, I truly believe is corrupt. Because when I called the State Department, I asked them, do you know that the Nigerian government is repenting known Boko Haram terrorists and reintegrating them in the community where they can get in the military, they can get in the police? And they said, yes. And I'm like, what? My jaw about hit the floor. What? And I asked him, I said, you guys know? That would be as if terrorists came and attacked us in America and we arrest them and we reintegrate them into society and forgive their crimes that they've already committed. But yet we're going to arrest innocent people and put them on trial. You see what I'm saying? This is unreal. It's unreal to Biafrans. It's unreal to me as a U.S. citizen. It's unreal to anybody. And all arrows point back at Britain. All arrows point back at Britain. Because if Britain wasn't protecting the terrorists so much, same with America, we have our hand in it too. But, we're not... We try to trust Britain as an ally, which I do not want to do anymore. Honestly, I don't trust them. We should have never trusted them. All arrows point back at Britain. And you know what? If the Biafran people hold us accountable, I don't blame them. But me, the Biafran people have educated, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has educated me. I can't even answer for our stupid politicians. You know, I call them stupid too because they don't educate themselves. They don't look at the chalk and they don't get their chalk and chalkboard and educate themselves like we have done, like I have done.
Yeah.
They make decisions based on what they think Nigeria is and what Britain tells us what Nigerian is.
Exactly. They have to be on ground. You know, it's time for them to be on ground and see what's going on.
And can I make one other note?
Yes, please.
So you have to understand our government system. So like our Congress has legislatures and they have senators. Okay, they depend on the State Department to do the research and what's going on ground in these countries and report back to them because they're busy running the country and making laws. Well, the State Department, if the State Department is not reporting back to them, which we found out in Afghanistan, of the real things going on ground in a destabilized country, like Afghanistan is an example, and Nigeria will be another example, then you know what I mean? How can we trust our own State Department? And that's what I ask politicians. How can we trust our own State Department? And how can we investigate these terrorist sponsoring countries outside of the State Department? We need to start investigating them. And it starts with Biafrans as well. Biafrans that are in America, stop giving your money and supporting and trying to get into office these politicians that support the State Department or support getting elected with your money and your vote, who are not going to help the people of Biafra. You can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. We need to elect officials that are for innocent people being slaughtered over there. Period. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter. You get an idea and a feel of what that candidate is trying to do for the people of Biafra and innocent people stuck in that contraption. And you hold your money. A lot of Biafrans are rich in America. Don't give them no more money. If they cannot promise to help you and the violence going on to Biafrans and all of the genocides going on to Biafrans, do not support them and do not vote for them. Period.
Period. Simple and short. You know, that's just how it is. I'm going to go ahead and keep playing the video.
Nigeria's Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, said that President Muhammadu Buhari will consider the interests of Nigeria in the case to release Nnamdi Kanu. What's your view about this political option?
It would be wonderful if he did that. After all, it wouldn't be unprecedented. The president of South Africa released Nelson Mandela and negotiated a dismantling of apartheid. So maybe Mr. Buhari would like to follow that path. I, however, am suspicious of the authenticity of that representation by Mr. Buhari. You would think would be accompanied by at least a stand down in the southeast, where the ongoing massacres and genocide of Biafrans persist without any rescission. Moreover, you may recall after my last visit, the Attorney General Malami made a public statement that they were willing to sit down and negotiate with Nnamdi Kanu, but they were waiting for some kind of response, indicating in the same tone as President Buhari, well, we should talk this out and see whether we can't get a consensus. Let's not resort to violence. In the aftermath of his representation, I wrote a letter to the Attorney General Malami. There was nothing top secret in it. It simply said very respectfully, if you have an interest, let's meet and discuss the protocols for discussions. What would the venue be? Would they be confidential? Would there be any preconditions? What would Nnamdi Kanu's status be? Released out of solitary confinement? Who would be representing the government? Who would be representing Nnamdi Kanu? Anyway, it was simply procedural mechanisms to try to facilitate a movement forward to find what everybody hopes can be a peaceful way for the people of Nigeria to resolve the differences, really, which were accentuated by a century of very cynical British rule. Maybe not a complete century, but close to it. But there was no response, no indication of any interest, and even flirting with that idea. So that casts into doubt, I believe, the sincerity of President Buhari's statement. But listen, if he moves forward on that front, all to the better. He doesn't really have any barriers, since it's within his unilateral control to stop the ongoing massacres and genocide and crimes against humanity in the Southeast.
All righty. So, this goes to the issue when Buhari had mentioned in the interview with Channels Television, where he mentioned that if there was a political action, that he's willing to take that political action. But Bruce Fein is coming out to say that they have taken steps to, start that political action. They've written a letter to Malami, try to figure out what are the conditions for this political action, what needs to be done, all of that. But nothing has been brought forth, So it shows again, that there is no plan by the government of Nigeria to move, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case forward. And they are still being very complicit about it. And, but again, time is running out and justice has to be done.
Yes. And eventually Britain and the Nigerian government is going to have to face this. Yeah,
it's definitely going to be something that they would have to face, because this is something that, requires a full-scale understanding. But as we round up here, I want us to also play the video of Chris Smith.
I want you to play the video of Chris Smith.
Yeah, I'm going to play that video right now. The Chris Smith video is also something that we want to share. We believe it's very important.
And you got to listen very closely to, by the way, the regime in the terrorist-sponsoring Nigerian government, are you going to extraordinarily rendition our own legislatures here in Washington, D.C.? Because he's speaking out against you. Exactly. He's abusing you.
So, guys, watch this video, and we would analyze it quickly as well.
Right, as I mentioned, the Islamic terrorist group Boko Haram continue to terrorize primarily Christians in Nigeria. This weekend, over 100 people were killed by them. The government there seeming to be indifferent toward what
has all the signs of genocide. What can be done? I mean, there's an important, and we're going to talk about this, the importance of this and why we should care. First off, it's believers, it's people being murdered, over 30,000 in the last decade. But this has the potential to destabilize the entire African continent, which could draw America into a much bigger problem. Joining me now to talk more about this is Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey. He represents the 4th District. He is the ranking member on the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, Global Human Rights, International Organization. He's also a senior member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman Chris Smith, welcome back to the program.
Tony, thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it very much.
Well, I want to start with Nigeria, but I want to move to China because I know these are two issues that you've been on top of. And as I was reading some of these articles, I was in a pending Biden administration, remembering back during the Obama administration how hard you and others had to fight just to get Boko Haram listed as a terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm. Tony, it took 3 years. I had the hearings on it. I was chairman of the committee of the Africa Global Human Rights subcommittee. And we would have Obama's top person, Johnny Carson was his name, the Secretary for Africa Affairs, testify. And he said things like, the only reason or the only thing that Boko Haram was all about was trying to embarrass than Jonathan Goodluck, who was Goodluck Jonathan, I should say, who was the president. And I differed vigorously and said, one, they're waging a jihad. This is all about trying to promote at the barrel of a gun through an AK-47 and rape and all kinds of horrible things. They were trying to get people to change their faith. No, this is different. And it took me 3 years. I'm the one who introduced the bill to declare Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization, an FTO. And on the day I was marking up my bill, the very day it was announced by the State Department that they were going to designate Boko Haram a foreign terrorist organization. So we lost 3 years at least that we could have been tracking, trying to stop the flow of money for the procurement of munitions and bombs and the rest, because they had totally misread the religious persecution aspects of Boko Haram. They're a horrible organization. Now add the Fulani, which you know so much about, I know as well, and the killing spree that they have unleashed, 300,000 people displaced, and frankly, they have killed 6 times more people have been died than by Boko Haram. And the information coming out, including Bishop Kuka, is this is genocide. It's happening right now, a genocide.
In the significance of this, I mean,
just say that, you know, the American Congress took 3 years before they could get Boko Haram to be regarded as a foreign terrorist organization.
And mind you, this was under the Obama administration.
And this was under the Obama administration. And this particular person is a Congressman, Chris Smith. You know, I've spoken with this man before, you know, on a program that we both were in. And I want to say that you see what he said, that as soon as they were about to mark him as a terrorist organization, Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, you know, he mentioned that the State House or whatever, you know, they came ahead and they decided to declare Boko Haram a terrorist organization. But it took them 3 years, and you know, all the legalities of getting to Congress and getting, you know, a law signed or whatever it is, you know, it took a long, and all of those periods of time, Boko Haram, they were still funneling money, they were still getting money to buy arms and ammunition, and America was, you know, they were in the blind for 3 years. And by now, if you see the amount of damage Boko Haram has caused, you can see that if America stepped up faster, most of those damage would not have been at the length at which it is today. And if America keeps slipping on their role, you know, to continue to fight against human rights abuses, if they keep slipping, this terrorism act in West Africa will keep increasing and ultimately affect the whole of Africa and, you know, most likely affect even America. So they cannot afford to keep wasting time. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Exactly. And this is why I always mention Representative Chris Smith, because he has actively spoken out. And because he's a Republican person in the Obama administration, they didn't want to listen to him. But he knows the ins and outs about what's going on with the Nigerian terrorist sponsoring government. He knows it, and he speaks out against it blatantly. Why do the American people not know about this?
Again,
And this is why I say, Biafrans, be careful who you support with your money and your vote.
Exactly. And we're going to go ahead and keep playing the video.
Obviously, as I mentioned, you know, any human being suffering like this, I mean, this is targeting primarily of Christians. There is this, the country is almost
evenly divided between Muslim and Christian, and there is this intense attack, the Fulani herdsmen kind of going after what there's some that say this is a occupational issue, because you have the herdsmen who want access to land to graze their animals, and that's bringing them in conflict with the farmers who are predominantly Christian in their villages. And so people are writing this off as not being driven by religion, but by scarcity of resources. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's just like Johnny Carson totally misreading the Boko Haram situation. It is a profound misreading of what the Fulani is all about. They have radicalized so many young mostly men, to kill, to rape. They kill women as they do men. They are, they leave some survivors, according to multiple reports, after their killing spree, so the word will spread just how horrific their carnage is that they unleash. And then you get people like our own ambassador, Mary Beth Leonard, who said that religion was an accelerant to the conflict rather than the core reason for the conflict. This is not about whether or not we want that land or this land for our animals to graze. They come in.
And Mary Beth Leonard, our ambassador to the failed contraption, who said that religion accelerated it. Mm-hmm. Guess what party she's part of as well?
Democrat.
Yes. So let's keep going. Be careful who you vote for, people.
Exactly. And again, I also want to just create a balance. We must also understand that, the Tucano jets, most people have also said that the Tucano jets were approved by the Trump administration. The initial Tucano jets that Nigerian government, bought from the United States, it was approved by the Trump administration. So again, it's on both sides. Whether it's there's some.
But we need to study that. We need to study that a little further.
Okay, we need to study that a little further. So, but I also want to just create a balance. But again, the point this man is saying is the way at which the spread of terrorism has gone. And the reason why we're bringing this up is to show to those who are watching that the American government is very much aware of what's happening in Biafra land. Don't think they're not aware of it. They're aware of it. Whatever action that they decide to take is either a political action, whether to maintain whatever they consider they are benefiting from Nigeria, and just keep it going, or they are still waiting to see what other nations do before they act. But I'm happy that the Biafran people are not stopping in their protests, as well as their civil disobedience by sitting at home, which is also a very good way of protesting. So, but I'm going to go ahead and keep playing it so you guys understand what's happening more.
Sometimes motorcycles, they raid at night, causing unbelievable fear, and they do it quickly, and they kill, and they kill, and they kill. That's why, even the Jubilee campaign has asked that the special prosecutor for the UN look at the Fulani genocide to determine that it is that, because it has all the hallmarks of a genocide and is being misread by far too many people in government and outside of it as well. And, even the House of Representatives, and I've been to Nigeria many times, they called their House of Representatives that the killings in the Plateau State, they called that a genocide themselves. Buhari, who's the president, and I have met with him, he is a Fulani. He has unfortunately stacked his military chain of command from the very top with Fulani. There used to be a real mix of Muslims and some Christians, which meant you had, some checks and balances. That's all gone under Buhari. And now, he looks the other way almost exclusively when the Fulani commit these acts of genocide.
So why should Americans care?
Well, a number of reasons. It's a great question. One, we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. When people are being slaughtered, killed, hurt, or even going hungry, we should respond very generously towards them and very aggressively to stop the human rights abuse. Plus, it is a security issue. It's often been said, as Nigeria goes, so goes the rest of Africa. And this targeting of jihadists and the jihadis, Boko Haram and the Fulani and others, and we see the same thing in other places throughout Africa, but especially now in Nigeria, will lead to a destabilized state. It will lead to more war, not less, more displaced persons, and the use of the military as a dictator would use the military, not for benign purposes, but for imposing a certain point of view. So
I want to quickly pause it there so that, America should care because, as he said, it's going to lead to more wars. What's happening with the Fulani herdsmen, Boko Haram, is going to lead to more wars. All right. It's going to lead to tribal, even clashes among regions. All right. We're going to see people right now. Now we've seen people in the north create vigilante groups to go fight Boko Haram. Now they are fighting the Boko Haram people. They are fighting the Fulani herdsmen with their own people.
But can I make a point here? Do you ever hear the congressman saying that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu caused the destabilization?
You never hear that. You never hear them talking about,
Nope.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Who did he say that could destabilize Africa?
It's the Boko Haram, the Fulani herdsmen,
And who are they?
And even the congressman also mentioned that the Nigerian government has placed Fulani natives in the helm of affairs. He said it. He said that.
Yes, that's why I'm saying. Why is Buhari extraditioning Mazi Nnamdi Kanu when our own representative says the same things Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying?
Exactly. He's saying exactly the same thing that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying about how the chief of army staff is, whether it's the chief of naval staff, all of these people in top government officials are Fulani. Most of them are Fulani natives, and they are the ones sitting in the realms of power. And now we have one of the fourth deadliest terror group known as the Fulani herdsmen, supported by the Nigerian government. So it is crazy, but this is what it is. And we're going to just play this. This will be the last video before we round up. Thank you all for being a part of us. For those who do not know, my name is Buchi Law. I'm an attorney as well as a social media influencer. Speaks about Biafran issues. Speak about the issues bordering on Africa. And we also have Susan Mount here as well, who is a Biafran activist as well as a social media influencer as well, who loves the people of Biafra. And we're here analyzing the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and using, stories happening around the world to show why this supposed fast trial should not even hold in the first place. Because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been kidnapped and he's currently in detention for as the president would say, for abusing the president. And to me, I don't see abuse as long as the abuse is not a form of to incite killings or anything. Anyone can abuse anybody, but the ego of the Nigerian president obviously is very slim.
We want a stable, prosperous Africa, Asia, Central America, the United States. We want everywhere to prosper. This is the antithetical to that hope and dream, because then you get more chaos, more bloodletting, more death.
So that leads me to my next question, Congressman Smith. What can America do? What should America do?
Well, I think we need to do even more than we've done. The president has called on Buhari, again, the president, to do more. But I think, we need to use the Magnitsky Act, which I was the House sponsor of, which sanctions individuals with making them unable to use U.S. banks and engage in any kind of economic or commerce with the U.S. And also denies them a visa. It can have a very telling effect if it's used aggressively, and it's not really being used, frankly, with Nigeria. We need to get I know a lot of people don't like the International Criminal Court, the ICC, but they did look at Nigeria and issued a report. Turn the page. What's next? And they did not, maybe because of the time of when they did it, call for crimes against humanity or for a prosecution based on that. You always remember that in Sudan, and I've met with Bashir, who is now in hiding, so to speak. I met with him, and all he wanted to do was to end the sanctions, and then to get himself off the indictee list for the International Criminal Court, because he was indicted for crimes against humanity. So it's important to have multiple ways of trying to hold these people to account. A legal action. I mean, in Yugoslavia, the killers there never thought, including Slobodan Milosevic, that he would ever be held to account. He died waiting trial, but he was in custody. And I think the more we push tribunals like that, even in Sierra Leone, Charles Taylor is serving 50 years. He's the former head of Liberia for his incredible crimes against humanity. They were just, they cut off people's arms and of course raped and killed. And he got young people all hyped up to do his killing. But he's never thought he would be held for crimes against humanity. And it was David Crane's court, the hybrid court, that was able to get that prosecution and that conviction. So I think the rule of law needs to be used aggressively, with either local courts or with the ICC or some other mechanism. And we need to use our own Magnitsky Act. And I think we need to ratchet up the diplomatic pressure. I'm going to hold a hearing on the 17th of December, just a couple of weeks, on Nigeria. And the focus will be this genocide, the Fulani gross deeds of terror that they have unleashed. And we will have the administration there and also a private panel with individuals who are still working on that to bear witness to this almost ignored genocide that's happening as we talk, you and I, Tony.
Exactly.
And I know you care about it. That's why you've asked me on, because you're so committed to it as well.
Yeah. So as you can see, the Americans are aware. Some parts of the America is aware. At least Chris Smith is aware of what's the genocide.
Yeah. And this is what I'm so happy about, because this is why we need to get more politicians like him into office. And we need to get more politicians like him aware of what's going on over there. And it takes us here in America. I always say it's going to be the help. It's all kinds of moving parts. Biafran people are in charge of their own freedom, period. There's no savior except for the Biafran people. Okay? But there's help. We can be helpers. We can be part of the moving parts to help. We can help by calling our U.S. government over and over. Even if they don't want to listen to you the first time, keep calling them over. Even if they don't want to help, we still need to make them aware of what's going on over in the zoo. That way, if there is a crisis of any measure, which I'm not saying that there's going to be, but if the terrorists are allowed to destabilize Africa, that our congressmen and our senators know in advance who's the good guys and who's truly the bad guys. So that's why I waste my time on Congress, even when people tell me not to. They say, Susan, why are you just wasting your time? The American government ain't going to do anything. I already know that. Our State Department is compromised. Can you not see? I see that. I'm a smart girl. But what I know is the senators and the representatives in Congress, not all of them know what's going on, like Chris Smith, to the degree with evidence. And this is why we need to get to them in large number. Not just one person like me. It takes a lot of people. Do not support any U.S. American politician with money or votes who is not willing to call out the terrorist sponsoring government in Nigeria. Period.
Exactly. And also those the Biafrans that are in America who have the power to vote should also demand that their representatives show them what actions they are taking, in the genocide in Biafra land, in the southeast of Nigeria. They have to ask these questions, because they are in the position to do that. If you are living in America, you are in the position to ask these questions. You have, as Susan has said, you have the position, you have the power to call, you have the power to write letters. Write these letters, seek for audience, seek for time to visit them, but just make sure that you're doing something. All right. Let's go ahead and finish this video, and this will be the last one before we round up.
Well, I know, as you pointed out, and I want to underscore this issue, is that the reason we address these things now, and everything you laid out there is diplomatic, it's legal, it is financial. We're not talking about military intervention, but if you leave these things to be on their own without addressing them, these atrocities, these human rights violations, this genocide,
at some point in time, it requires more intervention, and that's when it gets escalated. So it's better to address it now, because this is huge. I mean, this is the largest country in Africa population-wise. It, as you said, will destabilize not only Africa but even into Europe as people flee there. Almost out of time. I got to ask you another question, because I want to move to China, another issue that you have been on for many years.
You can.
But the Forced Labor Prevention Act, which passed out of the House overwhelmingly.
So they just talk about China from here on out, but just like he said, it will destabilize Africa, and you will have the biggest humanitarian. I hope European Union is listening to me and watches me, because this has, and all of what I'm saying, by the way, has already been, Nnamdi Kanu has already been trying to educate Biafrans about this years and years before I even knew about Biafra. Ojukwu was trying to educate Biafrans about this years and years and years before Nnamdi Kanu. You know what I mean? So come on, let's wake up to what's truly compromising the security. We can't just be like, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. We have to come up with solutions to help. We have to call our governments. We can't support governments that don't support defending innocent people. We have to stand up. We have to, people tell me all the time, Susan, you're making money off Biafrans. You're doing this, you're doing that. I don't make a red cent off Biafrans. I give my money away to Biafrans. So don't come at me like that, because we know that you're not a true Biafran if you come at me like that, which I don't care about that. I'm stubborn as they come. That's why I call myself the lioness, because I'm going to protect the people I love no matter what you say. But what I'm saying, and I know we got to go, but what I'm saying is, let's look at the whole picture. Let's educate ourselves. Let's do something, even the little bit, even reporting what's going on in ground against innocent people. You're doing something. You know what I mean? You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have a high status. You keep MNK's name out there in social media. If that's all you can do that. You know what I mean? It's not about money. It's not about color. It's not about religion. It's about freedom. Because without freedom, you can't be anything, any prosperous thing you want to be. And with that, I'm closing with that.
All right. Now, listen, I want to just say, everyone who has been a part of this show, thank you so much. We hope we've been able to let you understand that, the case or the supposed trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is, it's pretty much a sham trial, because the right due process of law was not obeyed. And if the due process of law is not obeyed, the legs upon which that trial stands is already destroyed, is already broken. And, we also wanted to show you guys as well what the American Congress, the U.S. Congress is doing, and how they can also do better, in helping this case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as well as the case of Biafrans. But in the absence of that, we wanted to open the lines, open the comment section for those who might have any questions. If you have any questions or comments, this would be a good time. We want to bring you guys in. I'm going to read out some comments while some people write their questions. Some people have been saying that together we move forward. Chukudi Ofoma said, together we move forward. Jacinta Ogadima said, all we want is Biafra and the release of our great leader, MNK. I'm going to be reading our comments right now. KOB said, Susan, we will never forget you. Israel Ade said, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
We have so many people saying that, Henry MNK said, genocide is happening in Nigeria. Biafrans and Christians are being slaughtered on a daily basis, being sponsored by the Nigerian government. Now all of these comments are people who most of them are living in Nigeria. Ifeanyi Williams said, end Nigeria now to save lives, #free MNK. We must understand that all these folks are the ones living on ground. So they understand what's going on. They know the plights. And we see the videos on Twitter We see the videos on on Facebook. We know what's going on. We know that there are killings going on, and so many things are happening. But we also want you guys to just know that we are here to support you. We thank you for all your work. We thank you for being a part of us. We thank you for fighting for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and for fighting for Biafrans all around the world. We thank you so much. Please do not relent. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting for me. Yes.
I'll never relent. I've already discerned Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's spirit, and his spirit is alive and well. And let me tell you, we feel the spirit, and we want freedom.
We want freedom. We want Biafra to even be better than America. That is the goal. Biafra should be a light for the world, where there is healthcare, free education, good roads, not those roads that exist in Abia State, where there's 24 hours electricity. Why should you live in a country? We have been here now, the light has not blinked. Why should you live in a country where there is no light, no water, no security? That's like living in fear of everything. You're not getting the benefit of being a human being. Humans you should get the benefit of living life as a human being. We have some other comments here by Matthew Doji. We love Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mikel Danny said Nigeria is a death trap. Hen Nigeria, save humanity. Chuku Menike Dominic said we are highly proud of you, Susan. We Biafrans will never forget you. So thank you everybody for being a part of us. We love you guys too. We love Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We love Biafrans. We want freedom for everybody in Biafra. We want freedom for those who also believe in Yoruba nation. We want freedom for everyone who requires, a good life. And that the same thing we wish upon ourselves is what we wish upon Biafrans, freedom. So thank you everybody for being a part of this broadcast. There's going to be a repeat of this broadcast. Please kindly subscribe, follow, Susan, follow the Leadership Standard on YouTube. We are on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube called the Leadership Standard. Follow us as well on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. We're a growing organization. We're growing, youth-run organization where we speak for leadership. We want great leadership in Africa. We don't want the leadership that's embezzling money, stealing people's funds. We want leadership that serves the people, a service kind of leadership. And Nigeria, under the current administration, under this current constitution, can never give us that kind of leadership. That's why the Biafrans are asking to leave, and they will definitely leave and form their own country. We pray this in Jesus' name, and in any other name any other name you believe in, we pray it as well. Thank you so much, Susan, for being a part of this.
It's time, and we love you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We know you feel our spirit.
We love you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Thank you guys for being a part of us today. We thank you for giving us your Saturday, and until further notice, until further time, take care, stay well, stay safe, and God bless you.